My son hugged the trouser leg of the man in a suit and kowtowed 3 times with loud thuds. "Daddy!" This was the 7th father he had recognized in his 3-year life. The awkward smile on my face froze when I saw the red mole at the corner of the man's eye. "Good boy, you found the real daddy."
Welcome to listen to my full sweet love series novel. I'm the blogger and I'm Twilight's novel. Now let's start the main story.
On the airport shuttle bus. Looking at the large text on the phone screen of the ant in front of me, Chapter 1, Running Away with the Ball, I chuckled. I should probably be in Chapter 2 of a CEO romance novel now. Returning to the country. Following the cliché plot, today I would run into the child's biological father, stage a chase where I flee and he pursues, with no escape. "Son, your mom." I reached out to the side, grabbing nothing but air. "Where is my son?" My heart jumped into my throat, and then I saw a little meatball bundled up in clothes 5 meters away, hugging a man's leg and kowtowing 3 times with loud thuds. "Daddy! Oh my God!" I quickly took out my sunglasses and put them on, striding over under the gaze of the crowd. My silly son kept calling him Daddy in a milky voice. Even through the sunglasses, I could clearly see the man's livid face, struggling to control himself from losing his temper. I grabbed the back of Bun's overalls and lifted him from the ground, dusting off the dirt on his knees, whispering, "Silly son. Don't call just anyone Daddy." Bun pointed a chubby finger at the man's clothes. "Daddy's clothes." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "This is my fault." When Bun first started talking, he asked me who his daddy was. I was staring intently at the TV at the time and casually pointed at a Korean star on screen. "There, that's your daddy." He was young and couldn't remember faces, only that black suit. Since then, whenever he saw someone in a black suit, he would pounce and call them Daddy. Today, influenced by some TV drama, he even added drama by kowtowing. "Sir, I'm so sorry, the child doesn't know any better and has disturbed you." I pressed Bun's little head down, quickly apologized to Uncle, "Brother. Brother, I'm sorry, I mistook you for someone else." "Is this your son?" His voice sounds somewhat familiar. I looked up at the man across from me. My son has good taste, picking the most handsome one to call Daddy. But this guy speaks like cold air from an air conditioner. Chilly. I forced a laugh. "Ah, yes." I took Bun's hand and tried to step aside, but the man in the suit stepped in front of me. "So you don't recognize me anymore? Sis." The word sis was uttered through gritted teeth. My brain raced. Did my dad have another child after raising me, the failed one? No way, even with hormones he couldn't grow that fast, and besides, my dad had a vasectomy long ago. The man's brows were almost knotted, his black pupils simmering with anger. I took off my sunglasses to get a better look. Oh my God! I had never seen another man with a small red mole at the corner of his eye, except for Bun's biological father. I silently gave Bun a thumbs up in my heart. "Good boy, you found the real daddy." As my dad would say, I have a 95-pound frame, 90 pounds of rebelliousness, and the remaining 5 pounds are all mouth. I've been rebellious since I was 16. Early on, the control was so strict it was like the characters procreate and continue the family line were tattooed on my forehead. Because the old man had a vasectomy the day I was born. Thus, my dad's lifelong wish became finding me a live-in son-in-law, aiming for 3 children, securing at least 2. After graduating from college, my dad's desire for a grandchild peaked. Every day he either forced me into blind dates or forced me into blind dates. He literally forced me into becoming a commitment phobe. Passivity only leads to defeat. In a moment of impulsiveness, I took the initiative, planning to borrow jeans from a handsome guy. He had to be good-looking, intelligent, and at least 180 centimeters tall. I set my sights on Zhongqing University, where you'd find a city top scholar every 5 steps and a provincial top scholar every 10. On a hot summer day, at the vibrant basketball court, I saw Alexander. Sweat dripping, a lean and fit build, with faint dimples when he smiled. It would be a lie to say I wasn't attracted. If I were 2 years younger, I might have wanted to date him seriously. Unfortunately, I was busy declaring war on my dad. After 2 shameless months, I quietly ran off with a positive pregnancy test. My dad pointed at my slightly bulging belly, eyes wide with fury, stammering, you, before his head lolled and he passed out. Alexander asked expressionlessly, "How old is this child?" I thought quickly, not wanting him to figure out the timeline, and was about to shave a bit off Bun's age. But Bun had already held up 2 fingers. "Brother, I'm 3 years old. Damn it, he's really my biological son." Alexander curled his lips into a sarcastic smile. "You dumped me and then had a child with someone else right after? You're something else." I guiltily touched the tip of my nose. An assistant-looking person nearby pointed at his watch and said to Alexander, "Mr. Alexander, the plane is about to take off." Alexander gave me a brief glance and strode away. I crouched down and poked Bun's head. "Leo, didn't Mom tell you not to talk to strangers?" Bun stretched out his little arms to hug my neck, cooing affectionately, "Mommy, give me a daddy, all the other kids have daddies." I sighed and pulled Bun into my arms, a pang of bitterness in my heart. Back then, I was young and impulsive, just wanting to defy my dad, never thinking about the meaning of responsibility. I did a lot of stupid things that hurt others and myself. Maybe it's because I became a mother, or because of 3 more years of life experience, but I've started thinking about settling down. Bun's growth also needs a father figure. Snapping back to reality, I looked toward the boarding gate. Alexander's figure had long disappeared into the entrance. Just after getting off the bus, I saw my parents standing at the door from afar, looking out. Who knows how long they had been waiting? My eyes grew hot. Bun had already dashed over. "Grandma, Grandpa." My mom picked Bun up and kissed him hard a few times. "Oh, my sweetheart." Pulling my luggage, I said jealously, "You only hugged the little one, haven't seen me in so long, don't you miss me?" Old David rolled his eyes, lowering his voice, afraid of startling Bun. "You have the nerve to say that. I told you to get lost and you really left. And with such a young child." I went over and linked my arm with old David's, resting my head on his shoulder and nuzzling. "Hey, didn't we agree not to bring this up? Besides, I went for further studies. Let me see what you've learned. Starting tomorrow, get your ass to the company to work. Such a big business. You want to work your old man to death? I need a break." When my dad said he was taking a break, he really meant it. The 3 of them enjoyed family time at home while I was busy running around at the company. "CEO Elena, you have a schedule at 8 tonight, a birthday banquet for Mr. Charles, our partner, who's turning 60. Headache, send the gift over, say I have something and won't be attending." The assistant paused. "CEO Elena, you're new and might not know, but Tion Industries is our company's biggest supplier, so." Seems really important. Important enough that my dad even came with me to offer congratulations. "Oh, old David, this must be Elena. So pretty, takes after your wife." Old David laughed heartily. "You always teasing me." Someone nudged my arm, I raised my glass and said, "Uncle Charles, happy birthday. May your happiness be as vast as the eastern sea, and wealth flow in abundantly." After speaking, I tilted my head back and finished the drink. Good, child, it's so good to have a daughter. My own brat irritates me 800 times a day. "Ah, what are you saying? You think daughters don't cause worry? Blah blah blah." Old David and old Charles started praising each other's children while subtly putting down their own. A common trait of Chinese parents. Standing to the side, I swayed my ankle idly. High heels are truly the biggest restraint for women. "Elena, are you seeing anyone? My own brat doesn't have a girlfriend either. Maybe the 2 should meet." Old David looked awkward, not knowing how to respond, and shot me a glare. "Dad, don't play matchmaker randomly. She's already married and has a child." "Am I married? Let's just say I was." A familiar voice came from behind. I turned to see Alexander, looking travel-worn. The world is really small. Old Charles was taken aback, rubbing his bald head. I smiled. "Divorced a long time ago, the son is with me." "Oh." Old Charles didn't continue the conversation. Understandable. Who would want their precious son to marry a divorced woman with a child in tow? The atmosphere became awkwardly silent. I pointed my toes, trying to relieve the pressure on my feet. Alexander glanced down and suddenly took my wrist, pulling me aside. Startled, I looked nervously at the 2 old men. Luckily, they had moved from business to politics, chatting animatedly, completely unaware of us. I shook off Alexander's hand, rubbed my sore wrist, and said discontentedly, "Alexander, what are you doing?" Alexander plopped onto the sofa, sneering. "What, guilty? Can't even sit and chat for a bit." Old David seemed busy for a while, and if I kept standing, My feet would really hurt. Thinking that, I sat opposite Alexander, picking up a piece of strawberry cake from the small coffee table and taking a few bites. Even with my head down, I could feel Alexander's hostile gaze. In his eyes, I was probably a fickle, unfaithful heartbreaker. Relentlessly pursued him, slept with him for 2 months, then dumped him. Anyone would be furious. I carefully looked up, just in time meeting Alexander's gloomy face. It made me flinch. Great, how much trauma did I cause the young man? He used to smile a lot. I was about to say something to ease the tension, like, "Mr. Alexander, looking forward to working with you," or something. Then I saw a bright-eyed, white-toothed girl sit next to Alexander, intimately holding his arm. "Alex, when are you finally taking me to see a movie?" Alexander tilted his head back and drank a glass of wine, saying, "I'll pick you up tomorrow night." The little girl cheered. "Tiske, what is old Charles worried about? Does his son look like someone lacking girlfriends? I have no interest in being a third wheel, especially with an ex-boyfriend. It's awkward." After finishing the last bite of cake, I prepared to leave. Alexander said coolly, "We haven't even talked, and you want to leave already? Should I stay and watch you two kiss?" The girl seemed to notice me only then, opening her big round eyes wide. "Who is this sister?" I smoothed my hair, smiling. "My son calls him brother." Alexander's face darkened instantly. The girl laughed. "Auntie, hello, I'm Emily. You look really young. You know I look young, yet you call me auntie." The corners of Alexander's mouth curved, revealing 2 small dimples. This seemed to be the first time I saw him smile since we met again. Still very handsome. I was momentarily dazed by the dimples. I have to admit my taste is good. Bun perfectly inherited his father's good looks. Alexander raised an eyebrow. "Auntie takes good care of herself, huh? Damn it. Won't disturb you young lovebirds anymore. This auntie is going to the restroom." When I stood up, I felt a bit unsteady on my feet. Earlier, the cake was too rich, so I drank 2 glasses of fruit wine. Sitting down, I didn't feel it, but standing up, I was really a bit dizzy. I pinched my palm. I'm really getting old, my alcohol tolerance has declined so much. Leaving the restroom, I was drying my hands when I was suddenly pulled into another room by a force. My body pushed hard against the door. I hit my head, making me dizzier. Gritting my teeth, I opened my mouth to curse, but swallowed my words when I saw Alexander's face clearly. Reeking of alcoholic breath, I had only left for 5 minutes. Did he fall into a vat of wine? Frowning, I pushed him. "Nephew, don't you start acting drunk." Before I could finish, both my hands were forcefully lifted and pressed above my head, and my cheeks were pinched ferociously. Ouch, he's really strong. A soft yet forceful pressure landed on my lips, filled with suppressed, bursting anger. I was stunned for 2 seconds, then bit down hard. The taste of iron instantly filled my mouth. Alexander moved his lips away, wiped his mouth, and brought his blood-stained finger close to my eyes to show me. "Sis, you're really ruthless." "Are you crazy?" I lifted my foot to kick his shin, but he anticipated it and used his leg to deflect the force. Alexander chuckled lowly, his alcoholic breath spraying on my face, reckless and unrestrained. "Weren't those 2 months fun? You must have needs too, why don't we?" I frowned and pushed him. "Alexander, you have a girlfriend." Alexander stared at my serious face, then let go of me, clutching his stomach and laughing. "Ha ha ha, sis, when you dumped me and immediately got married and had a child with someone else, I didn't see you having such strong morals? Ha ha ha." Alexander laughed until tears came, but I saw no joy on his face. "Schizophrenic?" I opened my mouth. "Bun is." "Idiot, that child is yours. Can't you see he's the spitting image of you?" But I swallowed the words again. Having the child was my decision alone. I can't disrupt someone else's life path. Though I did have a momentary thought of letting Alexander be Bun's dad. He has a girlfriend now. 3 years ago, I irresponsibly left him. 3 years later, I can't irresponsibly mess with him again. Alexander returned to normal, brushing the wrinkles on his suit. "Bun? Your son? What about him?" "Nothing. I need to go home or the child will cry." "Ha, what a good mom." I couldn't be bothered with his sarcasm. The cool autumn breeze dispersed the fogginess in my head, but the heat spreading from the corner of my lips wouldn't fade. Bun insisted on watching Boonie Bears. Holding a large bucket of popcorn and Bun, I waited on the small sofa for admission. "Brother!" Bun let out a loud shout, waving his short arms energetically. I followed his gaze. What bad luck. Alexander seemed to want to shake off Emily's hand, but stopped when he met my eyes. Oh, having a conflict? Happiness truly comes from others' misery. I grinned and smiled at them as a greeting. Bun, we should. Bun had already dashed out, slippery and impossible to catch. 3-year-olds are really a handful. Alexander crouched slightly, his large hand easily scooping Bun into his arms. Bun hugged Alexander's neck sweetly, planting a loud kiss on his cheek. Brother, so tall, much higher than when Mommy holds me. Alexander stiffened for a moment, freeing one hand to wipe the saliva from his face. I reached out helplessly to Bun. Bun, be good. Don't disturb Big Brother and Big Sister's date. Bun shook his head, holding on tighter. This little rascal, really not giving his mom any face. Chanting silently, I want to be a gentle mother. I want to be a gentle mother. Taking a deep breath, I tried to soften my voice. Bun, Logger Vic is going to cut down the trees. You and Mommy go help Bramble and Brumble, okay? Bun hesitated, then stretched his hand toward me. I was about to take it when Alexander's large hand held Bun tighter. Come, brother will go with you to save Bramble, okay? What? What? Emily and I exchanged glances. Emily tugged at Alexander's clothes. Alex, we weren't. Alexander took out his phone and quickly did something, thus completely ruining the mother-son cozy weekend. The 4 of us went to see the animated movie Boonie Bears together. I glanced at Emily's expression next to me. It was terrible. Logically, they should sit together, but Bun insisted on sitting between me and Alexander sat on the innermost side, forcing Emily to sit next to me. Who would be happy about that? How did Alexander's EQ get worse as he grew up? I remember when we were together, he'd either pick romance or horror films. I never thought he had EQ issues. Rejuvenating? Reliving childhood with his girlfriend? But his girlfriend clearly wasn't interested. Bun excitedly introduced the characters to Alexander, chattering, brother this, brother that, making my head hurt. Thankfully it was a children's screening, or Bun would definitely be dragged out and spanked. Brother this, brother that. I glanced at Alexander from the corner of my eye and sighed. Is it the degradation of morality or the distortion of humanity? What made biological father and son act like brothers? Too lazy to think. As long as Bun is happy. I leaned back in the soft seat, dozing off, but Alexander's gaze in the dim light made me restless. Elena! A soft whisper was drowned in the movie's noise and the excited shouts of children. My heart trembled, feeling deafening. Before leaving, Alexander added Bun's children's smartwatch contact and told Bun to keep in touch. Oh my God! Anyone would think they had a big project collaboration. Must be because they're biological father and son. They seemed to hit it off. Bun leaned close to Alexander's ear, whispered something, and Alexander smiled faintly and nodded. Bun excitedly kissed Alexander's cheek hard. This time, Alexander didn't wipe the saliva. His hand turned and gently flicked Bun's chubby cheek. Bun, this is our secret, don't tell Mommy, okay? Bun nodded, stretching out his little hand to pinky swear with Alexander. No matter how I threatened or bribed, Bun wouldn't tell me his little secret with Alexander. This old mother's heart was aching with sadness. Her son had secrets so quickly. The small phone watch on the bedside table rang jingling, startling me, and I quickly took it out of the room. Hello. It's me, Alexander. I glanced at the clock pointing to 11 and sighed. Your little brother is already asleep. Do you need something from him? Laughter came from the other end. Auntie, I'm looking for you. I reached out to hang up directly. Are you planning to discuss business with your partner using a kid's smartwatch forever? The phone number is my WeChat. Add me. Beep beep beep. He hung up. I rolled my eyes and resignedly opened WeChat to search for the contact. It wasn't until the next day that the friend request was accepted. How childish. An unexpected visitor came to the company. Emily sat in the meeting room, her gaze toward me no longer friendly. Probably found out about my past with Alexander. I sat opposite her, smiling. Niece, what can I do for you? Emily snorted. Auntie, stop playing dumb. I stood up to get a glass of water, took a sip. Just say it. I don't like beating around the bush. You were the one who dumped Alex, so why are you hovering around him now? You have a child. Why can't you let him go? Watching Emily's sharp questioning, I couldn't help but laugh. So young, so tender, emotions written all over her face. Kid, first, I have no feelings for Alexander. Second, we are just business partners. Emily's face looked awful. Enough, you're only 2 years older than Alex. Stop acting all profound. Back then he liked you so much you. Emily didn't finish, picked up her bag and left, tossing back. You're not good enough for him. The water was too full. I accidentally spilled some on my leg. A new WeChat message. See you this afternoon, don't be late. Staring at Alexander's name, I froze for 3 seconds. Alexander, did you really like me back then? If I recall correctly, I was always the one chasing. Back then, chasing Alexander used up all the patience I'd ever have. Bringing breakfast, attending classes, cheering at basketball games. Even his roommates were on my side. Though I only chased him for 2 months, that was my limit. I remember that day was his university basketball finals. I had stayed up late and overslept until 1 p.m. When I turned on my phone, there were 10 missed calls from Alexander. In that moment, all my efforts seemed wasted. I rushed to the basketball court, but even the cleaning lady had left. Alexander sat alone in the stands, his face dark as he slowly walked toward me. Didn't you promise to come watch my finals? I ruffled my uncombed hair. Sorry, I overslept. Alexander's eyes dimmed. You used to make it to morning classes. Why couldn't you make it today? Don't you like me anymore? Ha! What's that got to do with anything? I waved my hands anxiously saying, how could that be? I like you a lot. He held my hand and suddenly smiled. I stared blankly as he leaned down, a light kiss like a feather brushing my cheek. Blushing, he said, I like you too. Wow. Memories flooded my mind like a dam breaking. A slow sense of guilt surged. I hit my head hard. Elena, you really deserve to die. You really do. Look at the awful things you've done. In the afternoon, I went to Alexander's family factory for sampling inspection. Alexander's face was as dark as thunder, hardly paying us any attention. Suddenly, I had an epiphany and thought of Emily. What's wrong? Did your girlfriend complain to you? I didn't bully her. Alexander irritably took a cigarette from his pocket, lit it, and took a deep drag. She's not my girlfriend. Ah, but you said. Alexander kicked a small stone into the river, impatiently saying, what did I say? Auntie, your imagination is too good. Bun seems like a smart kid. How did he get such a stupid mom? His words left me dizzy. I smoothed my hair. Must take after his dad. The air suddenly grew quiet. Alexander threw the cigarette butt on the ground, grinding it with his toe. Who is he? Ah! Alexander roughly pushed me against a willow tree nearby. Unable to dodge, I closed my eyes, bracing for a bump on my head. The expected pain didn't come. My head landed in Alexander's palm. Good kid, still has some humanity. The next moment, Alexander's large hand gripped my neck, his thumb lightly stroking my lips, over and over. Alexander's expression grew calm, but his fingers tightened subtly. His nose touched mine, his dark pupils flashing with menacing flames, word by word saying, I said, who is he? Who the hell dared to steal from me? With no retreat, I instinctively swallowed. I know how strong Alexander is. I had no doubt these hands could snap me at any moment. We were too close. My nostrils were filled with Alexander's scent, my heart pounding like scattered pearls. I turned my head away, afraid he might see the turmoil in my eyes. Alexander frowned dissatisfiedly, turning my head back to face him. Alexander, are you crazy? Alexander leaned close to my ear, biting my earlobe hard, almost ferociously saying, I've been crazy for a long time, ever since the day you left without a word. What gives you the right to break up just like that? I tilted my head slightly, gathering great resolve to speak. Alexander, do you still like me? Alexander burst out laughing, his hair shaking. Auntie, how dare a divorced woman with a child ask that? Do you really think you're a fairy? I thought if he still likes me, I'll tell him Bun is his son. But hearing such harsh words, I couldn't say a thing. The fault is mine, but I can't let Bun grow up with a father who hates his mother. Saturday morning, 6 o'clock. Alexander appeared at my doorstep in casual clothes, his hair neatly falling over his forehead. For a moment, I could almost see the carefree basketball player from university. I was already sleep-deprived, and seeing Alexander made my head even foggier. What kind of strong heart does it take to say such harsh things one day and show up the next? We stared at each other for 5 minutes. Alexander looked down awkwardly. Well, Bun invited me to the amusement park. A man in his 20s, invited by his 3-year-old cross-generational friend via kid's smartwatch to the amusement park? The world is truly surreal. For the first time, Bun woke up early and was so excited. Holding hands with me and Alexander in the middle, he happily hopped and skipped. He tugged so hard my hand hurt. Bun, slow down, mommy's old. Alexander scoffed, lifted his arms, and Bun sat steadily on his shoulders. Bun squealed excitedly. So high, so high. Hee hee. I followed quietly behind, unable to help wondering. What if I had told Alexander about the child back then? Would we be a happy family of 3? Soon, I dismissed the thought. Alexander was only 20 that year. At 20, who can imagine a lifetime? The most likely outcome would have been him asking me to abort the child. Alexander stopped at some point. 2 pairs of eyes, one big, one small, stared at me. I hurried to catch up. Bun is small, so he could only ride the carousel. Sitting in Alexander's arms, he laughed joyfully. Taking pictures of them, I felt my eyes grow hot. Alexander glanced up at me but said nothing. Bun took my hand, then took Alexander's hand, and put them together. Hold hands, mustn't let go, okay? I curled my hand. The heat from the fingertips seemed to burn me. Then who will hold Bun's hand? How about Bun in the middle? Bun's chubby face scrunched up, as if thinking. Thinking is really hard for a 3-year-old. After 2 minutes of his thinking, the palms between Alexander and me were already damp. I moved slightly, wanting to let go, but Alexander grabbed my hand tightly, holding it in his. Then he held Bun in his arms with one arm. Bun, hold onto my neck tight, don't fall. Brother is so strong. Mommy needs both arms to hold Bun. I sighed, my attention forced entirely onto the hand tightly held by Alexander. Alexander softly said, "Isn't today about making Bun happy? Let's just hold hands for now." So we held hands. Leo ran out of battery, fell asleep with dinner still in his mouth. After putting him in the car seat, I went to the passenger side. The last time I sat in the passenger seat of Alexander's car was 3 years ago. Fatigue and drowsiness washed over me. I closed my eyes and dreamed of Alexander. I said, "Alexander, I'm sorry, Alexander, I like you." My body was thrown to the side by inertia. My head hit the passenger window hard, seeing stars. The car, hazard lights on, was pulled over to the roadside by Alexander. I jerked my head to look at the back seat. Bun was fast asleep, not showing any sign of waking. I frowned. "Alexander, what are you doing? Do you know how dangerous that was?" Alexander tried to light a cigarette, paused, then opened the car door and got out. He knocked on the window, signaling for me to get out too. His bizarre behavior made me furious. Alexander toyed with the lighter, click after click, the cigarette snapped in half and tossed into a trash can. "What you said just now, was it true?" I was baffled. "What did I say?" "Oh, I asked what you were doing." Alexander bent down, meeting my eyes. "Elena, you just said, 'Alexander, I'm sorry, I like you.'" Wait, wasn't that what I said in my dream? Did I talk in my sleep? I covered my mouth, looking at Alexander in horror. "That was in a dream." Alexander smiled, 2 small dimples appearing at the corners of his mouth. "Sis dreamed about me, huh?" I was scalded by his intense gaze, uncomfortably turning my face away. "I'm not a fairy, why do you care what I dream about?" Alexander reached out and ruffled my hair. "You're so petty." His series of actions made me flustered. I started walking back to the car. "All right, let's go, time to go home." Hurried footsteps sounded behind me before I could turn around. Alexander embraced me from behind. He rested his head on my shoulder, sighing as he murmured, "Elena, I like you so much. Do you know how long I've been looking for you?" Tiny fireworks crackled and popped all over my body. The wind stopped, the sound of car horns faded. Everything was so quiet, as if only he and I remained. By the time I got home, my mind was numb. I touched Bun's little face, whispering softly, "Bun, you have a daddy now." Half asleep, half awake, I suddenly realized I hadn't told Alexander that Bun is his son. "Alexander, Bun and I are crossing the street. I'll tell you a secret when we meet." Light laughter came from the other end of the phone. "What secret? I'm so looking forward to it." I smiled too. "The sky is clear today. Suitable for a family reunion." "Kitty!" Bun called out, suddenly letting go of my hand and running towards the crosswalk. I reached out to grab him, only brushing the edge of his clothes. After a sharp, urgent screech of brakes, Bun was hit, flying out like a slow-motion clip. My body went numb instantly, the phone slipping from my hand. "Elena? Elena!" My heart and soul felt like they were burning. That must be what this feels like. Bun's eyes were closed in pain, his little brows tightly furrowed, bright red blood seeping from his small body. My legs gave way, and I knelt on the ground, my hand reaching out but not daring to touch him. My world collapsed. "Bun! Bun!" I sat huddled by the operating room door, my body trembling uncontrollably like a leaf in the autumn wind, tears flowing like an unending stream. The next moment, I was pulled into a familiar embrace. Alexander stroked my back rhythmically. Don't be afraid, Bun will be okay." Sobs and remorse were equally unstoppable. "Alexander, it's all my fault, I didn't hold him tight." "It was an accident, Elena, just an accident. Don't be afraid. Through the thin fabric, I could feel Alexander's hand trembling. A mix of gratitude and pain flooded my heart. "Even thinking Bun is someone else's son, you're still willing to pour out your love? Bun, he is your..." The operating room door opened, and a doctor hurried out. "Family, the child has Rh-negative blood type. The blood bank is running low. The hospital is trying to figure something out. Do you have any relatives with the same rare blood type? Get them here fast." Alexander seemed struck, stunned for a moment, muttering, "Doctor, I am." The doctor glanced at him. "You're the father, right? Immediate family can't donate blood." Without a second's hesitation, Alexander immediately took out his phone and made a call. 5 minutes later, four people rushed over carrying several medical coolers and handed them into the operating room. The leader was sweating. "You scared me. I thought something happened to you," Alexander said calmly. "It's my son." The smile on the leader's face vanished instantly. He looked hard at the operating room, then at me. Alexander helped me sit in a chair, his voice trembling slightly. "Bun, he is my son, isn't he?" I nodded. Alexander pulled me into his arms, stroking my back rhythmically, choking up, "It's okay, our son will definitely pull through." The surgery was successful. Multiple minor fractures. Thankfully, Bun is young and his body is soft, so no internal organs were damaged. Bun, still under full anesthesia, hadn't woken up yet. Alexander and I sat by the bed, our eyes red. "Thankfully your friend's hospital had enough blood. We must properly thank him." Alexander squeezed my hand. "Don't worry, Jiangxing's dad and my dad are close friends who've been through life and death. After finding out someone in our family has the rare blood type, they prepared just in case." Before Alexander could finish, a small moan pierced my eardrum. Bun was waking up. Alexander and I quickly leaned closer. Bun tried hard to open his eyes, whimpering pitifully. "Mommy, brother." Alexander gently tapped his little nose. "Silly boy, from now on call me Dad." Bun blinked, saying tentatively, "Daddy? Did you succeed?" Hearing that, "Daddy," Alexander immediately broke down. He wiped his face, smiling as he took Bun's hand. What Daddy promises you, he will definitely do." I was completely in the dark, looking at Alexander, then at Bun. "What thing?" Bun laughed. "Daddy promised me he would be my daddy." Memory traced back to the day we watched Boonie Bears together. Bun wrapped his arms around Alexander's neck, leaning close to his ear and saying, "Brother, can you be my daddy?" Alexander smiled and nodded. At 9:30 in the evening, 5 more people arrived in the hospital room. My parents, Alexander's parents, and Emily. My parents were who I called Alexander's parents were clearly brought by Emily. Alexander hadn't had time to tell old Charles that he was a grandfather yet. Alexander and I tacitly didn't speak, waiting to see how Emily wanted to perform. Both sets of parents stood there, extremely awkward. Old David was embarrassed that his daughter had charmed his friend's innocent son. Old Charles was embarrassed, not knowing how to reprimand his son in front of his friend for dating a girl with a child. After 10 minutes of silence, Emily couldn't help but start. "Elena, what exactly is Alex to you? You left without a word back then, and now after getting divorced, you come back to make him a ready-made dad. Oh, not calling me auntie anymore?" Old David's face darkened. That bit of embarrassment vanished as someone his daughter. "I say, old Charles, what's wrong with my daughter? Are we begging to marry into the Alexander family?" Old Charles rubbed his bald head. Alexander said, "It's me who's been following Elena around, begging her to marry me." Old Charles rubbed his bald head vigorously. Watching old Charles's shiny bald head turning red, I thought we shouldn't tease the old man anymore. Have you ever considered that maybe Bun is Alexander's son?" 5 pairs of eyes widened simultaneously. Old David and his wife were shocked. "What?" Old Charles and his wife were overjoyed. "This is my grandson?" "Emily." Alexander and I smiled and nodded. Old Charles shouldered old David aside with his hip, staring intently at Bun. "Old David, look at this child's nose. It's exactly like Alexander's." "Nonsense. It looks exactly like Elena." Bun, woken by their commotion, rubbed his eyes, looked at old David, and said in a milky voice, "Grandpa." Then rubbed his eyes again, looked at the expectant old Charles, and tentatively said, "Grandpa?" Bun's perceptiveness is genuinely the sum of his dad's and mine. "Yes, yes. Good grandson." Old Charles wept openly, tears and snot streaming down. Emily turned and ran out of sight. I felt a bit wistful. That guy Alexander was beaming, staring at me. My old face flushed, and he pulled me into his embrace. An intimate voice sounded in my ear. "Sis, you're finally back." Not many days later, Bun was full of energy again. Company affairs were busy. Alexander and I couldn't get away, so we had to let old Charles and old David take turns staying with him at the hospital. Lying in the hospital bed, he was utterly spoiled by his grandpa and granddad. Early in the morning, Alexander drove urgently to my place, shouting towards my bedroom balcony. "Elena, get the household register." "What?" "Get married." Epilogue. Family of 3. The year's end is approaching. Alexander and I lay side by side in bed, looking back on this eventful year, filled with mixed emotions. Alexander interrupted my year-end reflection, turned over, leaned in, and kissed the corner of my mouth. In a deep husky voice he said, "Wife, a spring night is short." Where do all these spring nights come from? My waist is still sore. I ruffled his fine soft short hair, laughing. "Hey, young man, don't be impatient, be patient." Alexander lowered his head, nuzzled my neck, and whispered softly in my ear, "Elena, I love you so much." The air gradually warmed, approaching the much-anticipated lights-off moment. The sound of a doorknob turning, click. Bun stood at the foot of the bed, rubbing his eyes, holding his little blanket. "Playing a game without waiting for me?" Alexander jumped up instantly, his chest heaving rapidly. Alexander and I exchanged a look, seeing the same emotion in each other's eyes. Panic. Alexander picked Bun up like lifting a little chicken, seriously saying, "Bun, didn't Daddy tell you to knock?" "I did knock. You didn't answer." I guiltily touched the tip of my nose. Ahem, too engrossed. "We need to lock the door from now on." Alexander sighed, flicked Bun's chubby cheek. "Then keep knocking until we answer. If you just barge in, Daddy will get scared." "Ahem, then we can't give you a little sister." 4-year-old Bun made an expression akin to mockery, snorting and mimicking his father. "Daddy, you're so timid." "I slept alone when I was 2. Alexander choked, ran his hand through his hair, pulled Bun out of my arms, wrapped him in the little blanket he brought, tucked him under his arm, and strode out of the room. "That's right, Daddy is timid, so he has to sleep with Mommy." "You're so brave. Go back to your own little room." "Mommy, save me." I giggled in bed for a while, yawned, got up, and locked the door. Alexander twisted the doorknob several times, growing anxious. "Wife? Why did you lock the door? I patted the door, signaling him to be quiet. Young people need to learn restraint. I'm exhausted. Go sleep with your son. Even through the door, I could feel Alexander's irritation. He gritted his teeth, threatening. Elena! Just wait and see how I deal with you tomorrow. Oh, threatening me? Don't you believe I'll make you sleep in the study for a week? I burrowed into the covers, wrapped myself tightly, and closed my eyes contentedly. Bun's milky voice sounded at the door. Daddy, is this what adults call serves you right? A one-hit KO. Ha 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 ha, that's my son.